schools are back, so traffic was an absolute nightmare today. I'm also warning you in advance that the camera may even die as well. So it's really not going well for me today at all. Huge apologies. Let's see how much we can get out of the... let's see how much we can get out of it. Hello, Mike. Right. Hopefully, we're good to go from now on. So, as I was saying, thank you for joining me earlier on. We are looking at some piano miniatures Bavarians today. So what I need to do is I need to cut these heads off, glue them on the bodies, maybe do a little bit of cleanup on the bodies as well. We'll have a quick review of them, and if we get a chance, I'm going to make a start on these as well. I'm warning you here that there is a chance the camera will die. It shouldn't do, but there is that outside chance. So if I suddenly disappear, then apologies, but that is why. So these are piano miniatures. This is from their last Kickstarter, I believe, or it may have been the one before that. I think it was the last one. These are Bavarian Line Infantry. Now, some of you will know I already have a collection of Bavarians. I've got a very small army made out of the hat miniatures that were billed as being 28mm, but they weren't really. They were quite a bit smaller. So these guys are going to join the army. They're not going to be in the same brigade as my hat miniatures, so I'm going to try and keep them separate as possible. I did also double base the hat miniatures as well, so hopefully they won't look ridiculously stupid, but we'll have to see. Now, detail-wise, these are, as you would expect from piano miniatures, absolutely superb. We've got buttons here. Now, I say that I am absolutely no expert. Thank you, David. I am no expert printer, that is for sure. Hello, Steve. But we've got the buttons there, buttons on there, the locks nicely cast, even the fringe on the shoulder boards, the epaulets there. Hello, Paul. Hello, Dave. I printed these myself, David. And what have we got in the background at the moment? Oh, we got 10 Land Raiders being printed at the moment. I normally let you know what's going on. So yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic, as you would expect from piano. Looking at the heads here, we've got the cords coming down on the helmet. We've got the device in the middle. I'm just going to have a very quick look at them. It doesn't look like there's a cipher on the... Hello, granddads. It doesn't look like there's a cipher on the plate at the front, but you know what? I think we can probably forgive them that. What I wanted to talk about today when it comes on to gluing the heads is this is a big problem I had when I used to work for Games Workshop, and it was particularly younger hobbyists. Oh, Paul. It was particularly younger hobbyists that would do this. Is they would have all their... Well, I'll cut one out and I'll show you rather than explain. Show don't tell. Speaking of show don't tell, has anyone watched the new Director's Extended Edition of Napoleon yet? Hello, Chris. Or has everyone managed to survive the call to do that? I probably will watch it at some point, but not yet. So let's trim the head off. Now, one of the things that one of the problems I've got with buying 3D prints is they will always cure them before they send them to you, or they should do. And that's when you really risk damaging the model, cutting them off, things like this. These are very cured, and I probably shouldn't have cured them before I took the heads off the sprue. I thought, you know what, I'll paint them on the sprue, and then I can do them all at once. It'd be easier, but I'm actually going to glue them onto the bodies first, I think. Right, so no, you didn't like the first one. Well, I think that's I think that's more than fair enough. Now, as I say, I was having one of the things that I always saw the kids do. Is, let's take this guy as an example. Now, he's a static pose from like the waist up, basically. He's not skirmishing, he's not dynamic, he's pretty, he's walking straight forward. So the obvious thing to do is get a little bit of gloy in his neck hole. Yes, he was, Luke. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough, Nick. Yeah. Well, absolutely, David. That's if the French Imperial Guard had Land Raiders, they 100% would have taken. They would have taken the ridge at Mont Saint Jean. Absolutely. So I'm just gluing him, and he's going to look straight forward, and he's going to be fairly simple. Oh, hang on, I'm not. I'm going to glue him to my finger, is what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to glue him so he's looking straight forward. There we are. I'm trying to keep his head straight because it wants to lean over. So I'll just hold that in place for a second. Yes, no, I have an absolute burning hatred for people that film in portrait. It honestly makes me furious. Probably a lot more angrier than it realistically should. But when I see on the news, you know, oh yeah, here's an eyewitness video or something, I'm like, why is it in portrait? Why on earth would you video something in portrait? It really, really grinds my gears. So his head's on. I'm going to pop him to one side. I'm going to pop him out of the way. And I'm going to do another one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare and contrast the two models. So we've got him here. Yeah, I think the problem with the extended version is that the problems I had with it, they're not really going to be helped by an extended version. Although I do hear that there is the Battle of Marengo, which lasts about 5 seconds. But it's nice to see another battle. Let me scroll down a little bit so I can read the messages. I guess it depends on how wide were the trenches. Absolutely, yeah. So the hidden trenches of Waterloo. So now this is a slightly different figure to the last one. You can see that he's clenched a fist with his right hand. The other one hasn't. So he is slightly different, but again, the pose is fairly static from the waist up. It will it'll demonstrate what I'm after, and I'm going to have his head looking off to one side. In this case, he's going to be looking to his left, our right. He's going to slip as I'm holding him. So I'm going to quickly put this on off camera. Apologies. It's just so they can set out of the way and I don't end up knocking them over, as I am wont to do. If I'd been Da Vinci, the Mona Lisa would have been landscape. Absolutely. Well, no, that's okay, because that is an actual portrait. But when someone's filming, like, what was it I saw recently? They were filming something. I don't know, I'd probably say it was a fight between a policeman and a civilian or something. And just at the crucial part, not only was he filming it in portrait, but then someone got between the cameraman and the target. Honestly, I just, yeah. No, it upsets me greatly. This head is not wanting to stay on at an angle, so it wants to sit in nice and square. But I don't want it to sit nice and square, and I will explain why in a bit. So we've got it off to one side. There we go. The problem is with this resin, it's quite strange. It is fully cured, but it's still a little sticky. So it's actually sticking to my fingers as I'm trying to manipulate it. So apologies for that. Right, now that's the second one I've done. So I'm going to grab a third one. Is this the same as the first one? No. So third head. Now these are just going to be lined, so there's no moustaches or anything on these. These are just regular line Bavarians. And we're going to have him slightly facing the other way. Now this is one of the downsides to the early Perry miniatures, the ones that I absolutely raved about in my video, because they come with the heads attached, so that is good, but it does create them looking even more static. Remind me that of why you gave me 6mm. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, that's another reason why I'm looking at these 12mm bad boys. Getting back into Napoleonic, just bought myself some front rank Pavlov. Yeah, very nice. Very nice, Peter. I hope you've checked out my video on the Russian Guard, if you're doing the Pavlovs, and also this week's release on General Raevsky. He was he did command the Corps of Grenadiers for a while. Good. Right, now this is something else I wanted to look at as well. I'm going to come back to those in a bit. And that was, there was a chap who was on one of the Napoleonic Facebook pages. And I don't know if he's a viewer of the channel or not. But he was talking about he has problems with his hands. He shakes a lot. Now, I shake a lot as well. I don't think as much as this guy. I think it was like a medical condition. But when I talked about he was having difficulty holding the model to paint it. So I suggested that he paint on the sprue. His counter-argument, and a lot of people's counter-argument, and it's fair enough, is, well, what about the bits where the sprue touches the model? So we've got here, for argument's sake, or there's, you know, on his arm there, or the top of the wheel, or whatever. Now, these sprues are absolutely perfect for it, because what I suggested is that before you undercoat them, now I'm going to have to go back in and touch them up, so I'm not too concerned about doing it now, is you clip off any of the connectors that are on the actual model itself. So these are on the horse's tail. So we get rid of those. And then on his shoulder and the gun wheel. I'm just going to have to take this off camera a second, just so I can get the nippers right in there. I'll do the other side as well. So apologies for that. And then the wheel here, then cut off this bar there. So they're still connected to the sprue by the bottom, the bits that we're not going to see. So that's fine. And they're still on there reasonably solidly. So we should be able to paint those and not have too much issue going on. So I'm just going to quickly prep the sprue. Now, ideally, I would have done this before spraying them. But the weather we've had recently, we had a gap in the rain. So I had to quickly rush out and spray as many as I could. And that's the reason why the spray's been it's a little bit watery as well. I didn't shake up the can as much as I probably needed to. So that's what's created this effect here of it being almost like a wash. So does anyone remember Games Workshop's Smelly Primer? That was a very thin undercoat paint, which absolutely stank, hence the name. Now, I might actually be a little bit sneaky and not do these as French. I'm thinking, I've got the files for 1809 French line infantry. I'm thinking I might do them as Italians, but I might do the piano miniatures 28mm 1809 ones as Italians as well. So I think I might just do these as intended. I might just do them as French, but the chasseurs and the lancers doesn't hugely matter because they wore the same coloured uniform. So I only really need to decide when I get down to doing the command groups and when I do the infantry. And even then, the command groups, I could do an Italian command group and a French command group, and then just swap them out as I want them. Now, obviously, they wouldn't have lancers in 1809. They didn't come until later, but the chasseurs, the Italians, absolutely had chasseurs. So we'll see. We'll see when it comes to doing that. I don't need to decide that now. So I'll kick that can down the road. I'm just making sure that these are all off as well. Now, he's a little bit loose, but that's okay. If the odd one's loose, you can probably glue them to the base. And if there's no more than one on the base, you should have plenty of room to paint them on there. So there we are. There's just one more here for this Lancer horse, and this one here. And I think that is all of them. So that's all of them. Very nice. I'm going to quickly grab some Corax White. And then just touch up the bits, for argument's sake, here, where the spray's not gone on quite so well. It's just a whole new army into Epic Napoleonics. Yeah, well, I've got a couple of battalions already painted for the British. But I'm thinking of running an Epic event towards the end of next year So probably around about this time next year, actually, maybe a little bit earlier. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need an army to take part in that if I need to, aren't I? So, and also, you know, I know Alex from Storm of Steel, he's been painting up his stuff. And he's been, I mean, he got it sent to him by Warlord. I'm not sure. I mean, I've played Blucher with him before. I'm not sure how much of a Napoleonic guy he is, but yeah, he's really getting into it. So hopefully, I can play some games with him. Maybe even have them on the channel. You've got a dedicated spray cupboard indoors. Oh yeah, that would be handy. Yes, no, that would be helpful. Particularly as we're going into to autumn and winter now. So yeah, that's another reason why I want to get these Bavarians heads glued on. I'll do the rest of those over the weekend, I think, or a bit more today. How on earth did I miss that one? I don't know. So again, just a bit of watered down white. No way I caught you painting epics. How come, if I may ask? Well, I mean, I've had them lying around for a while. Dan very kindly gave me a sprue of his British. I've got 2 battalions of British already painted, actually, that came free on the cover of a Wargames Illustrated. So I've got some already done. These Cavalry, I bought 2 of the sprues in at Adepticon. There was a bring and buy. And someone had 2 sprues I got for $5 for the pair. So that was quite nice. And then I ordered a 3rd sprue, because you need 3 sprues to make the units. I bought the 3rd sprue in the sale recently. So, yeah, so that came out quite nicely in the end. I'm just going to take them off camera a second, because it's actually the sort of the bit that's facing the sprue that didn't get the spray. So I just need to hold them upright to paint these. So apologies. I've done a lot of stuff off camera in this stream, and that's not very good. So I do apologise, but hopefully it'll be worth it in the medium to long term. What I want to do is today I'm going to start on the horses, and we're going to make a inroads there, and then we'll be good to go. Sorry, I'm just doing the fronts of the horses now. I've got them. I'm holding them upside down, which is not the best thing to do, because I can see where the spray hasn't gone. Just one more. Sorry, apologies. But no, I'm certainly not adverse to smaller scales in gaming. I've got a relative, well, I mean, I've got a huge number of 50mm Essex Napoleonics, just not so many of them painted up. But guess we need to look at investment into French bridge. Well, I mean, you only need one, but I wonder when or if Warlord are going to produce more NAP countries. I'd love them to, but I'm not sure that they will, to be honest. I think it's the Warlord Open Day this weekend, isn't it? Which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get to. But that would certainly be a question for someone to ask there. I was hoping to go to try and find out where the 1813 book has got to, but yes, we'll see. Right, now what I'm going to go with is I'm going to start off with Old Horsey Faithful himself, Gorgrunter Fair. Now, if you see my video on what horses different regiments had, the light cavalry tended to have lighter coloured horses. Now, these are well, lancers, although most other countries would call them chevaliers, literally light horse, and hussars. So, well, chasseurs and hussars. So again, these are light units. So let's start off with some Gorgrunter, and let's do this horse here. Now, that white that I've just added hasn't fully dried on him. That's fine. We'll come back to him in a bit. Let's do this hussar here. Now try and be as neat as you can, but with the contrast paints, I'm just going to paint over any reins, anything like that. I'm just going to slap it on. I'm probably not going to do a different coloured mane, although I might wash that with a brown or a black later on, just to differentiate it a little bit. But I'm not going to go absolutely crazy. And then the back here, again, the wolf's teeth, I'm trying to get the brush in between them. I'm not too concerned if I get the wolf's teeth covered. So the wolf's teeth are these things here on the edge of the sheepskin. Go into there, get the tail done. You can see I'm leaving some socks and stockings on this horse. So this guy is a hussar, but you know, hussar light horses in particular were in huge demand, so they basically get what they were given. Doing the socks allows you to just differentiate the models a little bit, and just make them look a little bit more realistic. The key to doing it, though, is to remember what you've done on the other side of the model. So here we go up here. Now what I'm doing here, for example, is I'm going up and I'm covering, there's a strap that comes from the saddle around the tail. I'm covering that in the gore grunter because it means I don't have to get and paint it with the black now. I probably should, but you know what? This is all about the mass look on the battlefield. It's less so about each individual model. So I don't really mind taking shortcuts for things like that. So we're going there. Now a horse would be unlikely to have markings on all of its legs. So I know I've done that one full. I'll do this one full as well. Again, it's quite a fun way to represent maybe lower quality units. Something like Landwehr Lancers could have horses with markings on all four legs or something like that. But for these guys, I'll just have markings on the two of them. And again, slap it down here. I'm not too concerned about going over the reins because I'm going to go over those with black anyway. This gives you a nice chestnut style horse. I really like gore grunter for horses. It's certainly one of my favorite colors. I'm going to do a sock on this side of the leg this time. Now, one of the key things to remember as well is that units would often have different colored horses by squadron. So, yeah, all of the first squadron, for example, would ride blacks, and all of the second squadron would ride chestnuts or whatever. That was, of course, an ideal. That didn't really happen in the field. It might do if you were, for argument's sake, going to do an army from 1805. Say the Grand Army of 1805. That might have done, because it had plenty of time to reorganize and sort all that stuff out. But as soon as it got on campaign, certainly after it fought a couple of battles, it would be very unlikely that that would be able to be maintained. Warlord will never acknowledge the existence of the years 13 or 14. Yeah, well, possibly not. Yeah, which is a shame, because there's some really fascinating battles. Someone asked me last week, didn't they? Whether what I thought Napoleon's best campaign was, and I certainly think the Napoleon at Bay campaign is certainly an option. What base size would I recommend for cannons? Now, I've recently changed my base sizes for cannons. I used to go with 100mm by 75mm, I think. No, 100 by 150, so like the old Games Workshop Chariot bases. But I've recently gone for 150 wide and 100 and I think 200 deep. So I now base my cannons on absolutely humongous bases, which is not always everyone's taste. But artillery takes up quite a lot of real estate by the time you've got the caissons and all that kind of stuff squared away. So I would tend to go larger rather than smaller. And I would go for a gun, yeah, probably 100 mm wide, or 75 at the very minimum, and then maybe something like 150 mm deep, something like that. Oh, sorry. No, I assumed that you meant size. Right, so they're done. Now, I've got 2 hussars with chestnut horses. I'm going to do a 3rd hussar with this style of horse. And then I think that's probably going to be enough for this sprue. You don't want them all to have the same coloured horses, because that would be a little bit boring. So I'm going to do different markings on this one to the other one. In fact, I'm not going to do this one with any markings at all. I'm going to do this one with full chestnutty goodness. Never played Black Powder. How long is an average game? Well, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. How long is a piece of string? If you play the games that sort of we play in the battle reports, we know the rules pretty well by now. We can get them crashed out in maybe 3 hours. 3 to 4 hours, I would say. Obviously, if you have a bigger game, it'll take longer. A smaller game will be quicker. But you could certainly have... I mean, we had an event recently where we had 600-point armies, and the time limit for those games was 2.5 hours, and that was more than enough time. So, yeah, I would probably say, yeah, 2 to 3 hours for a couple of brigades and a cavalry brigade. Yeah, that kind of thing. 100 by 50, yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's fair enough. I certainly wouldn't argue against that. I think that would be a reasonable size as well. I never have 2 horse identical if I can avoid it. Oh, don't even, mate. Yeah, I can't even have the same model next to each other. That really upsets me. That's why I'm going to go on to talk about these Bavarians in a second. How's the battery life doing? The battery is slowly going down. What time are we on? 640, right. Hopefully, we'll have enough juice in the tank to take us all the way. I do have it plugged in, but the plug is knackered. I need a new camera, really. So that's why it's slowly counting down. When did you... Well, yeah, no, there is that. Yeah, that's true. Well, mostly when I had to write an FAQ, because Warlords still haven't. I could have given him a like a white muzzle or something then, couldn't I? But just to mark him out, but never mind. Well, like that 2 to 3 hours a nice afternoon. Yeah, I mean that's sort of once you know the rules. If you're playing it sort of leisurely, you could certainly turn it into a whole day or a whole evening without too much trouble at all. Have I decided the regiments? Not yet. I think I'll probably do the 1st Hussars, the blue and yellow ones, or possibly the like the Space Wolf grey ones, the sort of the powder bluish ones. I think they're the 3rd Hussars, I think. The chasseurs will be whichever chasseur unit had pink facings, because I always do pink facings when that's an option. And for the lancers, I think there were lancers with pink facings as well, wasn't there? So it'll be that one. No, thank you, David. I mean, you know, you're always welcome to super chat me. But no, I won't be Bernie Sanders style. It's time for me to ask once again for your support. No, I won't be doing that. Now, this one here is Agros Dunes. Now, I'm a little bit unsure about this one, so let me know what you guys think. The idea here is to do a bit of a like a bit of a dun type horse. Is that right? Dun? I'm no horse guy. So that's the idea here, is to do that sort of yellowy brown, sort of like a golden retriever colour. A whole day someone's bringing beer. Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, is it even possible to game without beer? Or I guess wine if you're playing the French. Beer for the Prussians and Brits, or gin for the Brits, and wine for the French and Italians. Vodka for the Russians and Polish players, obviously. And Rioja for the Spanish. Now, normally I try and do the manes and tails a contrasting colour. I'm not going to do that here, as I say. I think I'm just going to bang a brown wash on them later, or possibly even a sepia wash, if the brown wash is a bit strong. I suspect it won't be. I think a brown wash will probably be okay, but it may end up being a bit sepia. Sorry, I'm taking them off camera because I need to remember what markings are on the other side of the horse's... what's on the other side of the horse? Hang on. Sorry, it just the camera became unplugged. So how's he looking? Yep, he's looking good. I'll have another one here. Now, one thing that there isn't, unless... Oh, yeah, no, there is. There are buglers. So the bugles are here. Now, there's no hand on the bugles. There is on the eagles, but not on the bugles. So for the bugler, we're going to have him sort of with it round his back. So he's blown his bugle, and now he's going in with the sabre. So I think that's fair enough. That'll look pretty cool, I'm sure. But it means I'm going to have to remember to paint one of the horses grey. Although I did hear, but that's a bit of a myth, actually. So, well, if you've got different dice for your different armies, you've got to have different alcoholic beverages, haven't you? So, well, that's just an excuse for me to use the Highlander Brigade, I think. It's just to get the whiskey out. For the fighting third. I can have Irish whiskey and Scottish whiskey when I'm using them. The easiest way to remember what markings you've given to the horses is don't. it's just don't give them any markings, and you're good to go. What are we down? We're down to the halfway up to the shin there, and then there's a stocking on that one there. So there we are. Right, back to the camera. Now, I'm not sure about this Agros Dunes horse, this one and this one. What does it look like on camera? You think it looks good, or do you think it looks a bit meh? Let me know. Does it look like a horse? I mean, are there horses this colour? As I say, it's trying to be sort of a dun/tan. But I don't know. I'm not 100% feeling it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not repainting these guys. They are the colour that they are now. But I used to mine in Agrax, and they looked fine when done. Okay, well, that's fair enough then. Yeah. Mead for ancient. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Or again, wine if you're doing the Romans. Or I think that didn't the Carthaginians have date wine, which could be quite interesting. That's not wine with Rohit on it, I would imagine. But I think it's wine made out of dates. Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows when it comes to the Carthaginians? They did invent crucifixion, after all. If Napoleon had been in the American Civil War, do you think it would have ended differently? South win or sooner northern one? I am going to recuse myself from that question mark, and the reason being, I was talking to my dad about this the other day. He said, "I'm surprised you've never really got into American Civil War," and the reason is I've never got into American Civil War is because if I did, I would go as deep into American Civil War as I am Napoleonics, if not more so. So I'm desperately trying to hover around American Civil War and not really learn that much about it, because I can't, I will never financially recover from getting into American Civil War. So I don't actually know that much about the American Civil War. I know that it is no. I'll be honest with you, mate. No, I don't really know much about the American Civil War to say. I know that Sherman had his march to the sea. I know that Gettysburg was not great. I read the Killer Angels. That's about as much as I know about Gettysburg. And that's basically it. I do need to see the film, actually. That's why we were talking about it the other day. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know. If there's people in the chat, you'll know more about the American Civil War than me. What do you guys think? Would Napoleon have been... I'm assuming that you're saying if he fought for the South, would he have won the war for the Confederacy? Or would he have made a quicker Union victory? Can you get a close-up? I can. I will when I've finished this horse. The close-up on this camera, again, not fantastic, which is another reason I need a new one. But we've been painting these horses now for 15 minutes, something like that. And I've got six of the ones who the horses are done. All the flesh on the horses are done. Now, if I wasn't on camera and I was just, concentrating on painting them, I reckon I could probably get this whole sprue done in about half an hour. Now, that would just be the horse flesh. I would still have to do everything else on top of that. But, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how quick these models can be painted up. There's a lot of very, very deeply incised detail on them. And that's fantastic, because that means that these contrast paints work really, really well on these models. And that's, ultimately, it's about the grand vision. It's not about each individual model being painted like a masterpiece. Although, don't get me wrong, if that's the way you want to go, there is more than enough detail on the models to really go to town on them. That, I believe, is an officer. He's in his coal pack, but the thing that makes me think he's an officer is he's not got the shark tooth sheepskin. He's got this rather fancy pointed shabrack. So I believe he's the officer. So that is how I shall be painting him up. King Matt the Superior has bought some Wall of French already. Good man. You've even bought the best army as well. So the Romans had beers. Okay. And the Gauls had better beer than the Egyptians. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I think the time difference will make Napoleon and his tactics useless, but just my guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that you would be awake, like, on American time. No, I'm joking. I mean, possibly. Although, I mean, the tactics, certainly at the start of the war, I don't think were that different to Napoleonic tactics. Although, as I say, I'm more than happy to be told I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't, if I'm honest. So I brought two more colours up with me, and I want to quickly crack on with the 6 that we've already started. Richie asked for a close-up, so let's see what we've got here with the Hussars. You can see they've got the pelisse over the shoulder, and they've got the dolman, which is their jacket, on there. The lace, really nice on there. Again, that's going to take contrast paints fantastically well. What I'm going to recommend is, don't worry about the lace. Paint the whole thing blue, for argument's sake, if that's the colour you're doing. Then you can side brush the lace over the top, or just a quick dry brush will bring that out for you. Absolutely fantastic. That's looking really good. Really, really pleased with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some Skeleton Horde. Now, this is the colour that I use for a lot of stuff. I use it for wool. I use it for bone. I use it for anything like that. So what I'm going to do with this is, I've just noticed I missed this leg here. So what I'm going to do with this is any of the hooves that are that are white, I'm just going to quickly crack them with this Skeleton Horde. I'm also going to do the I'm also going to do the sheepskins, which are here as well. Why on earth are you... Right, okay. So, that one there. Where's my gall grunter? This lovely chestnut here. He's down to the hoof on the other side. So, there we are. Painting on the sprue. Yeah, I mean, you know, some people do, some people don't. When I first started doing these videos, I got absolutely lambasted for painting my minis on the sprue. I don't know why, but I did. For me, it's nice. It keeps them all together. And on these ones in particular, the only connections are on the bottom. Now, as it stands, they've got little pegs on. I'm probably going to cut them off anyway, because I'm going to use MDF bases for them. So, for me, there's no real reason not to paint them on the sprue. There's enough egos at the ACW for Napoleon's feet. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he probably would have done. I mean, yeah, people are people, aren't they? If he, if you know, if he had, you know, if he could work with the people he could in the Napoleonic times, he could probably work with them in the American Civil War times as well. Do I think the best base size would be for a Persian Zambarak? I'm not sure what a Zambarak is, Noah. If you can let me know, buddy, I will be able to give you a better answer. I can't get into ACW. It's hard to explain objectively, but it doesn't have the romanticism that Naps have. I can see that, Benedict, and that's what put me off for a long time. But I do like the... hello, go for it. I do like the industrialness of the Union. Now, it sounds a bit weird. I've recently got into Victorian British as well. So I've got a box of the Perry's Victoria Brits. I am absolutely aching to paint. But I've just got too many other projects that need finishing first. But yeah, I want to do them in home service. I want to do like a Prussian invasion of Britain. My idea is that it's during Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. So there's going to be, you know, units from all over the empire. So, you know, they're going to be fighting Zulus and Gurkhas and Bengal Lancers and all that good stuff. So that's like a homebrew campaign that I've come up with.